A Russian bomber has met its end. Zelensky may not run for a second term, and a former French president is facing prison. And that's not all. Today on TSN, subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the broadcast, leave your comments and likes. And here are a few more topics from our broadcast. Air defense that sets records.
While you're tracking one, as you shoot down one, another might sneak up behind you.
TSN witnessed how the air defense of the 3rd Assault Brigade operates, how they meet the enemy in the sky here. A terrible day in Donetsk region. There are 5 dead and 17 wounded. Russian war criminals dropped 10 aerial bombs weighing from 250 kilograms up to 1 ton on residential areas of Chernihiv. They killed 4 people and wounded 11. Some of them are in serious condition. 50 private houses, 9 apartment buildings, a municipal enterprise, an educational institution, and transport were destroyed or damaged. 1 person was killed in Oleksievo-Druskivka. There, the Russians directed an FPV drone at a civilian car. And in Chernihiv, a drone attacked a bus, resulting in 4 people injured. There is also 1 wounded in Sloviansk. Bombs were dropped on the settlement. About 15 houses were damaged.
I think it was like a plane. Then there was a loud bang. And here, my neighbor, an ambulance took her away quickly. She was badly injured. We don't know what to do. The roof was blown off, the windows shattered, the car was damaged. Everything in the yard is destroyed. There are craters everywhere. We were in the children's room here, and it hit over there.
They are the first to meet the enemy in the sky, hunting Russian drones, missiles, and even planes. The air defense of the 3rd Assault Brigade is breaking records for destroying aerial targets. In August alone, they intercepted and blew up about 1,000 enemy drones. They told our Daria Nazarova what they used to strike enemy hardware and why more and more interceptor drones are needed.
Masterfully, they often destroy enemy drones in the sky with a single shot.
485 aerial targets were destroyed in a month. These shootdowns were verified and confirmed.
The anti-aircraft missile unit of the 3rd Assault Brigade used to cover the infantry, and now it protects cities and villages.
This is a short-range manpads equipped with a precise laser guidance system, not a thermal one, which is an important distinction. We no longer need the target to be hot or emit a lot of heat. The main thing is to spot it in the sky.
The RBS-70 is a missile system with a laser guidance system. It can hit targets at an altitude of 5 kilometers and can easily take down an enemy Shahed drone. Moreover, it can even shoot down an enemy aircraft.
Helicopters and planes like Sukhois no longer fly here because they're afraid of manpads and air defense systems. Well, now FPV drones have started coming in. This drone war has really escalated.
Often, along with Shaheds, the Russians launch decoy targets called Gerans. That's why defenders need to stay alert.
While you're tracking one and shooting it down, another one might sneak up on you from behind. That's why there's a constant rotation every 30 to 60 minutes.
Rifleman Vershina has been at war since the very first days. He started as a grenadier, then became an anti-aircraft gunner. He says he's worked with all kinds of weapons. He operated both the Soviet Igla and the American Stinger.
The first time you shoot something down, your hands shake, your knees buckle. It's scary, but I'm satisfied. The first thing I shot down was a Lancet. But it wasn't with an Igla, it was with an ordinary rifle near Kherson.
He used to be in the infantry, now he destroys Russian drones and the Varyag. At 24, he's already a squad commander, though he says he never thought he'd end up in the military.
I dodged the draft. I didn't want to do my conscription. I went abroad about 2 or 3 weeks before the war started. And when the full-scale invasion began, I came back.
Now the fighters are hunting Shaheds, but Varyag admits he has another target in mind.
A helicopter. That's the fattest Shahed, but if it's a chopper, that's even fatter.
Besides manpads, the guys have a whole arsenal of weapons at their disposal, all to destroy as many Russian aerial targets as possible.
We're putting a lot of effort into development and scaling up. These are UAV interceptors. These are our anti-aircraft drones, which are capable of countering both small drones and large Shaheds. And their range of applications is quite broad.
As soon as night falls, another crew releases interceptor drones to hunt.
It's fast, faster than the Shaheds. That's in terms of speed. And also, as you can see, it's made of foam plastic. It might seem like it's not super reliable, but in reality this design actually makes it incredibly lightweight and very easy to repair and maintain.
This beauty can stay in the air for about 40 minutes and carries 500 grams of explosives. That's enough to blow up a Shahed. The plane is launched from a catapult. A moment in the air and the interceptor drone finds its enemy target. The drone is piloted by Ursulu, who is a graphic designer in civilian life. He has more than 30 downed Shaheds to his name. He says the Russians occasionally upgrade their drones, so it's getting harder and harder to shoot them down.
They either fly incredibly fast or they maneuver very sharply and abruptly.
The defenders of the sky are destroying enemy drones in the Kharkiv region. It is through this air corridor that the occupiers launch Shaheds across the country. That's why the air defense forces are under enormous strain.
If there's a large combined attack, there could be up to 1,000 Shaheds.
The defenders are also armed with another drone interceptor of the copter type.
It's basically like a loitering munition, sort of an interceptor, super fast, for striking high-speed targets. We operate on the front line, the first line of air defense, meaning all aerial targets, in this case Shaheds. We are the first to encounter them.
Since May alone, the unit has destroyed more than 2,000 aerial targets. Of those, over 100 were Shaheds, but they assure us this is only the beginning. The main thing is to have something to strike the drones with. Daria Nazarova, Ivan Koroshko, Zaporizhzhia, TSN, 1+1.
2 men were killed by Russians in the Kherson region. A scooter carrying civilians on the highway near the village of Lvov was attacked by an FPV drone. The people had no chance of survival. And in the morning, the invaders shelled the ship district of Kherson with rocket artillery. A local resident was injured and homes were damaged. The district was once again left without electricity. 29,000 residents of Chernihiv are also left without electricity and water, and in the middle of the day, the occupiers struck an energy facility. A large-scale fire broke out, and people were asked to stock up on water. At night, the Russians targeted critical infrastructure with Shahed drones, and hits were recorded. In Nizhyn, in the Chernihiv region, as well as in the Mykolaiv, Kirovohrad, and Vinnytsia regions, some sections of the railway were also left without power. Trains on the Zaporizhzhia and Odessa routes were running with delays. 7 people were injured in the Sumy region, in the city of Vorozhba. A drone struck a car in which a married couple and a 39-year-old female passenger were traveling. All 3 were injured and 1 woman is in serious condition. The drone attack also caused numerous fires in Sumy. During the day, the city recorded 5 hits. Endless explosions destroyed homes and frightened children. More than 3,500 miners have already been evacuated from the frontline communities of Dnipropetrovsk region. However, the list of settlements subject to mandatory evacuation continues to grow. Recently, it was announced in 18 more settlements of the Sinelnikivsky district. Anastasia Nevirna witnessed how hard it is for people to say goodbye to their homes.
6 boys from Khroika are milling around a pile of bags. They say they packed only the essentials. Tarbodaki. Meanwhile, their mother looks around the now empty house. Did we forget anything? Anything important? The evacuation team arrives. It's time to go.
A lot of things in a rush.
This family with 6 children had hoped until the last moment to stay at home, but because of drones already hovering over their yard, they decided to save the kids.
It's better to leave early than to regret it later. But just recently, something landed nearby, about 15 to 20 minutes ago. It hit.
While waiting for the evacuation bus, the children sit down on the slide where they used to play every day. The farewell is rushed by the anxiety of the village under yet another drone attack, so even the youngest ones start helping to load the belongings. A neighbor who is watching over the preparations wipes away her tears, but says that despite her house being damaged, she isn't planning to leave yet.
They were throwing things here. Our windows were blown out and the doors got jammed. A lot of people have already left, and you don't...
Are you thinking about leaving?
Oh my dear, where would I go? On my own land, my own house protects me.
Evacuation workers from the humanitarian mission Proliska are taking people out. This family has already found a place to live in a safe area, so they will be taken directly to their new home. evacuation requests just today alone. More than 20. The evacuation workers say there's no time to delay. The vehicles aren't armored, and to reduce the risk, the charity is raising funds for armor plates. The constant threat of FPV drones forces drivers to keep a close eye on the sky. 3 elderly ladies, a mother and her daughters, are getting ready to leave. They'll try to escape the constant explosions by going to Dnipro, where the granddaughter lives.
We'll try to see how things are over there, bang after bang. This morning it started before dawn. It's already very frightening. We endured and endured. We have to leave. It doesn't make me happy that we're going to the kids.
People are taking very few things, just enough to carry in their hands.
Good afternoon. Are you ready? Is this all of your personal belongings and possessions? No, that's absolutely everything.
They admit it's not fear that makes them leave home.
They don't know what to do with themselves. I am feeling so incredibly on edge right now. And if I were to unfortunately lose my temper, it would indeed be quite bad. There's no one here.
With just a few bags of belongings, Miss Ina also sets off into the unknown. She lost her son in the war, and now she's leaving her second home. The first one burned down because of shelling.
They promised to get my documents done to help me, so they said, but there's nothing.
Many people are stopped from leaving by the fear of ending up on the street, say the volunteers. However, they assure that no one will be abandoned.
We offer, so to speak, evacuation turnkey. We pick people up from point A and bring them to point B. If there's somewhere to go, we take them there. Our partners are also involved, and we try to find accommodation for everyone.
In the past 3 months alone, this humanitarian mission has evacuated more than 5,500 people from the frontline areas of Dnipropetrovsk region. However, the flow of internally displaced people is only increasing day by day. Anastasia Neverna, Vladislav Commission, Dnipropetrovsk region, TSN 1+1.
The enemy has advanced deeper into the Serebryansky Forest in Donetsk region and near the village of Berezove in Zaporizhzhia. These are the latest updates from the Deep State portal. Their analysts note that the Russians are using their numerical advantage and are looking for so-called gaps in our troops' defenses in order to infiltrate deeper into the territory. There, they hide, try to entrench themselves, and increase their presence to control the area. This is exactly how they are acting in Kupiansk as well. As the commanders whose units are repelling enemy attacks in the city say, enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups are constantly crossing the Oskil River. And while previously the Russians would disguise themselves in civilian clothes, now they often use even the pixelated camouflage of the armed forces of Ukraine. So the defense forces have to carry out counter-sabotage operations and clear almost every building. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces, since this morning, Ukrainian defense forces have already repelled 80 enemy attacks on various sections of the front. The fiercest fighting is taking place in the Pokrovsk, Lyman, and Novopavlivsky sectors. Volodymyr Zelensky admitted that he might not run for president if the war ends. He stated this in an interview with Axios. When asked by the host whether he plans to lead the country in peacetime, he replied that he is ready to step down if the fighting stops, and that he told Donald Trump the same thing. The president of Ukraine revealed a few details about his conversation with the head of the United States. In particular, he said that if Russia continues to attack Ukraine's energy sector, Trump supports retaliatory strikes, as well as strikes on Russian drone manufacturing enterprises and missile facilities. Zelensky also asked Trump to provide Ukraine with a weapon system, the name of which he did not disclose, but which would force Vladimir Putin to come to the negotiating table. Kremlin officials need to know where their bomb shelters are if they do not stop the war. This is what Volodymyr Zelensky stated in an interview with the magazine. 2 enemy Antonov 26 aircraft and coastal radar stations. The Ghosts Special Unit reports another trophy in Crimea. During a raid on the peninsula, special forces of Ukrainian military intelligence burned 2 Russian invaders' Antonov 26 transport aircraft and also struck an enemy surface situation radar station and a coastal one. MISM-1 radar station. And from the Zaporizhzhia direction, there are reports of a Russian Su-34 aircraft being shot down at night, which had been carrying out terrorist attacks in the region, including bombing civilians with glide bombs. The president of the European Commission believes that the downing of Russian aircraft in the airspace of NATO countries is likely. Ursula von der Leyen was asked in a CNN interview what she thinks about Trump's statements supporting the downing of Russian aircraft. In the alliance countries, the official noted that although she does not represent NATO, she does have her own position on this issue. Von der Leyen stated, and I quote, that they must defend every square centimeter of their territory. And this means that if there is an incursion into their airspace, then after a very clear warning, the option of shooting down such a fighter jet is on the table. End of quote. Bloomberg reports that the allies in the North Atlantic Alliance are trying to coordinate their positions after Russia's recent violations of their airspace. But they still cannot reach a unanimous position. For example, the US Secretary of State emphasized that Russian aircraft over alliance airspace would only be shot down if they attack. At the same time, Poland and the Baltic countries are demanding a more decisive stance. Professionals are behind the drones that violated Danish airspace. But so far, no evidence of Russia's involvement has been found. This was stated by the country's defense minister, Troels Lund Poulsen. According to law enforcement officials, the devices were launched not far from airfields, but the armed forces did not dare to shoot them down due to risks to people. The Danish government has also decided for now not to convene consultations within NATO over last night's incident. Drones were spotted at least 4 airports in the Scandinavian country. At Aalborg Airport, operations even had to be suspended. Local authorities reported that this incident also affected the Danish armed forces. This is because this particular airport is used as a military base. Earlier this week, unidentified drones had already entered Danish airspace. At that time, the airport in the capital, Copenhagen, had to be closed. The country's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, called it the most serious attack on the country's infrastructure and did not rule out that Russia could be involved. NATO allies in Europe remain on high alert, as similar incidents have occurred not only in Denmark but also in other countries.
There should be no doubt that we are dealing with a professional actor given the systematic nature of the operations in many locations almost simultaneously. I have identified this as a hybrid attack using various types of drones. Danish intelligence is closely monitoring the situation and constantly assessing whether the military threat is changing. However, it is also clear that we will see more hybrid incidents. We have no evidence to directly link this to Russia.
He received money from the Libyan dictator. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. A Paris court found him partially guilty in the so-called Libyan case. According to the case, the politician, through his aides, received tens of millions of euros for his election campaign from the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. In exchange for this, according to the prosecution, Sarkozy promised to whitewash the dictator's reputation in Western countries. In addition to the prison sentence, Sarkozy must also pay a fine of 100,000 euros. The former French leader could begin serving his sentence in the coming weeks. Sarkozy himself, who is now 70 years old, commented on the verdict after the trial, categorically denying his guilt and saying that he plans to appeal. At the same time, regardless of the decision of the French judiciary, he promised to comply with it, quoting, "with his head held high." Throughout the entire trial, the politician was supported by his wife, Carla Bruni. Oligarch Vladimir Plahotniuk was extradited from Greece to Moldova. This morning, the plane carrying the businessman landed in Chisinau. The man, along with his associate, former deputy Konstantin Tsutsu, was detained in Athens on July 22nd. According to unconfirmed reports, they were attempting to fly to Dubai using fake documents. Later, Plahotniuk submitted a statement in which he agreed to be extradited to his homeland. The oligarch is considered one of the wealthiest and most influential people in Moldova. He managed to concentrate a significant number of banks in his hands. He was even called the ruler of the country. Plahotniuk was a member of parliament from the Democratic Party. After losing the 2019 elections, he left the country, and in Moldova, charges were brought against him. During this period, a criminal case was opened in absentia against him regarding the theft of $1 billion from 3 Moldovan banks. He is arrested in court and put on the wanted list. According to Interpol, the oligarch holds 4 citizenships: Moldova, Romania, Mexico, and also Russia. This is what allowed him to remain in hiding for a long time. By the way, he is also wanted in Russia. He is accused of organizing a criminal group, smuggling, illegal drug trafficking, and attempted murder. Last night, Russia's Krasnodar region came under drone attack. At least 6 explosions were heard in Kuban. Online sources report a possible strike on a plant producing phosphorus and mineral fertilizers, as well as nitrogen compounds. The fire was large-scale and loud, but not entirely. Russians describe all this in their videos using unprintable language, just as they did with the explosions that happened earlier in the Krasnodar region as well. Maritime drones attacked the port of Tuapse. The occupiers' air defense was actively engaged, according to local social media channels, targeting the surface drones. One of them was reportedly destroyed, but the other, as seen in the video, crashed into the loading pier of the plant, sending Russians into a panic. Watch how it happened now without commentary. The occupation administration in Crimea explained the total fuel shortage on the peninsula. They say that fuel disruptions occurred due to a sudden decrease in production volumes at Russian oil refineries. However, they plan to resolve the shortage in the coming weeks and are asking motorists to be patient. But gas stations are shutting down. In just a few days, about 360 gas stations have closed due to a lack of fuel. Even Russian propaganda media admit this. The most severe shortage is being felt in southern Russia. The number of gas stations has decreased by 14%, and in the temporarily occupied Crimea and Sevastopol by almost half. Supply disruptions have also affected the Moscow, Leningrad, Ryazan, Nizhny Novgorod regions and several others. The fuel crisis and sales restrictions began 3 weeks ago, the reason being, in the Russian Federation, they cite attacks by Ukrainian drones which have been successfully striking oil refineries and storage facilities.